The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast live on YouTube. This is episode number 133. We want to welcome everybody. If you guys are at home and you're quarantined or whatever, well, let's just hope possibly maybe that we can give you a little bit of maybe some humor, maybe a little bit of break away from the craziness and all of that. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for always coming. If you're new to the channel, new to the show, then go ahead and tell us on the chat who you are, where you're from. We can't see you unless you say something out there. So thank you so much for everyone that has been watching the videos. I hope they've been useful. There's going to be a lot more kind of that instructor kind of training series. And to go along with what we're going to talk about tonight, there has obviously been a pretty massive influx of new gun owners in America. And we're going to have a discussion on what we think of our responsibilities are and how we can help and or welcome them to our community. But before we get going, let's say hello to our esteemed panel. All the way from Carolina, we've got the chief gearhead himself. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
We are glad to have you. And from the great state of Ohio, we've got the host of the Right of the People and the owner, operator, and just cool dude as himself, Mike from Budget Guns and Gear. What's up, Mike?
Hey, I don't know who this cool dude you're talking about is, but I'm here. Thanks for having me, man.
Your avatar's got 2 thumbs up, so he must be pretty cool, you know. And we've got, it's glad to have him on because he's usually typically working on Tuesday nights, but we've got Sarge from C4 Defense. What up, Sarge? Oh, he is muted. Shows you're muted. I can't hear you. I don't know. We'll come back to Sarge. Oh,
there we go. Sorry about that. My camera's acting up. Does the camera look okay or is it?
It's kind of lagging a little bit, but I mean, it looks clear. It looks clear.
I appreciate the invite and glad to have a chance to be on.
Yeah, I know that you're usually working on Tuesday nights, but thanks for coming in. And from the great state of Texas, the tactical coronavirus himself. What's up, Clover?
Yo, what's up?
Chilling like a villain, styling and profiling.
Right, under quarantine and house arrest and whatever else people are calling it, I guess.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are going through that right now, and I get it. It's tough time, but before we jump and dive into this, let's say hello to everybody out there. You got gun-loving Grandpa Stanley, Mr. President himself, George Washington's out there. Nighthawk, what's going on? The Tactical Reaper, what's up, Grim? It's good to see Grim back around. I know it sucks for him. He's kind of out of school right now, but it is nice to see him hanging around the chats a lot more lately. But hope you get back to work soon. Hope everything works out for you. Budget's in there and out here. Let's see here. Who else we got out there? Midnight Range is out there. JJ's out there. What's up, JJ? Joe Ziola, how you doing, Joe? Weston's out there. Andrew Faulkner. Gunpowder Beauty, hey. 12 Gauge is out there. Calaveras is out there. He says, when does the good show start? 9 o'clock Central. That would be Get Off My Lawn podcast with Sandhill Shooter. That's when the good show starts. 9mm is out there. So we got the better half of the Pancake Squad. You got Stan from SS Pawn out there. What's going on? I think I mentioned Calaveras, a tactical pickle. I'm not really sure. Chico's out there. What's up, Chico? How you doing, my man? Guys, go check out Chico's channel. He does some good stuff, and he's kind of diving into heavily the last year or so into reloading. So if you're interested in reloading, Chico does some good stuff as well. So like I said, guys, we're going to talk tonight about the influx of new gun owners in America. And I know that there are different reasons why some of these people are going out and buying guns, but I've actually seen either online or in person, sometimes the new gun owners are being somewhat shamed by either what guns they're buying or yep, Sarge, if you need to jump out, jump back in, it's all good, but it's up to you. But they're shaming some of the guns they're buying, or they're trying to mansplain, oversimplify, or I don't know, they try to oversimplify, but they're not. With new gun owners, and they're almost dogging them a little bit, and I wish that wouldn't happen. So it's interesting. I'm gonna kind of start with Jeff, and we were talking about this a little bit last night on the Gear Report chat, but it's interesting. A lot of us here online and in regular real world life, we've been talking for years about how do we get new people to come to our community, and then it seemingly looks like organically they're coming to our community for whatever reason. And then it's like we're shaming them. Have you witnessed any kind of shaming or people talking down to new gun owners in your neck of the woods?
More than we talk down to existing gun owners. I mean, as a community, not you and I, but
right.
But I don't know if I've seen any more, but I've absolutely seen, hey, I just bought this, and I don't know that it's unique to gun owners. It's kind of something we see all over the internet where people show up in a group and say, hey, I just bought this. What do you think? How'd I do? And then people come out of the woodwork to tell them how stupid they are for buying the wrong thing. It applies to guns just like it does everything else. So I've certainly seen that kind of thing happening. And I've seen a little bit of support. Great example, if you go look at Mining Ridge Armory, Toby is doing a free online 2-hour training session this Friday evening for any newbies. So if it's someone who just got a gun, so I've seen the opposite side of that, where we're identifying, it's great we've got some new blood coming into the gun industry, into the gun owning population, but many of them are panic purchases right now, and they can't go to a range and get the hands-on training because of social distancing protocols and lockdowns and whatever. So, trying to welcome them in that way. So yeah, I guess I've seen both sides of it a little bit.
Yeah. Budget, I'm going to bring you in a little bit. Hey, you're working. Looks good there, Sarge.
It works.
You got to love StreamYard, man. You got to love it. The duck is interesting at times. Budget, I want to bring you in because I want to try to get you questions. I know you might have to jump out while you're at work, so I want to get you questions to you quickly. But, in your neck of the woods, have you talked to any of the local gun shops and asked about their sales? I mean, are they up, or do you have any way of knowing that?
Well, I was in my local gun shop the other day, and I told them that, you know what, now I got to call you a gun shop. And he's like, why? I said, because you got a gun left. Because that's it. They had a gun. They had a pistol. And they had maybe a couple FUD shotguns. That was it, man. And, yeah, their sales are through the roof. They did like 3 months worth of sales in a week. And he says now his only problem is restocking. And, that's all good as far as that. And he says the majority were new gun owners. And I think that's a great thing. I know one thing that has really ticked me off is that video that gun store owner out in California put out about saying how new gun owners are getting on his nerves and, kind of denigrating him. And that's just the absolute, complete, total, and utter wrong attitude. You have to, if you want, yeah, okay, sure, they were wrong. They were wrong before. Let's not rub their face in it. Let's welcome them instead. Let's be helpful. Let's be good. And, I always preach, be a good ambassador. Let's be a good ambassador, not a jerk.
Absolutely. Sarge, Gunpowder Beauty out there says, had a friend previously known as an anti-gunner buy his first firearm from a panic or virus chaos. Do you know? I mean, obviously, everyone probably knows some new gun owners, but from your experience or in your area, are most of those people, were they anti-gun or were they maybe indifferent in the past?
I would say most of them were indifferent. I went to my buddy's shop today, and he has pretty much nothing left. And he said this is the first time ever that he has checked Davidson's. Everybody knows Davidson's, Gallery of Guns, and all that. They do not have a single Glock to buy. There's none. Can't order one. They're sold out. He said some places have actually had to stop even taking orders because they're so far behind. It's a very interesting time. He's out of ammo. And now on the other side, I can go to another shop that's completely full. But what you just said, a lot of it is these first-time ones are indifferent. I think there's a small portion that were anti, and maybe their eyes have been open, but the other ones were just in the middle. They just didn't ever think about it. But I think we're going to have a lot of good bargains come up in a little while.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to take the next question over to Clover. And if you guys all will jump in, we all know how to do this. You don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I throw a question out there and you want to say something, just jump in. But I want to bring it to Clover, and I'm going to specifically ask from Full Mag Sports, because I know that you worked a lot with them. Have they had to change any hours of operation, or what are they doing with maybe an influx of people and probably a lot less inventory at this point?
Well, so far there's no state mandate that says, they have to shut down. It would definitely be a state mandate there in the county, which is one of those great things. I mean, they're not subject to, city ordinances and things like that, shutting them down. It would have to come down from the state or potentially the county, and that's not going to happen. So, I mean, they're going to keep regular hours and stuff like that. To echo a little bit of what Sarge was talking about, there's definitely difficulty getting things in. I talked to the owner Saturday, Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. I didn't go by this weekend, but talked to him, and he said that they had one of the busiest days that they, have ever had. And he actually ended up selling, 7 or 8. I forgot how many now. He said they sold, that particular day, that Saturday, but 7 or 8 was his own personal firearms that he sold. He's got a pretty good collection, and people come in and wanted something and he couldn't get it, and their offer was good enough and whatever, that there was some wheeling and dealing with personal collections and stuff going on too, which is interesting.
Yeah, I stopped by my gun shop today. I had ordered a couple things and stopped by to see if they were in, and they weren't anything that are going to be panic buys. They were more accessories type stuff. But I was talking with the owner there for a while, and I asked him, because I hear horror stories from around the country of the NICS system being in, just disarray because people are, having to wait forever. And I asked him and said, right now, what's the average wait time? And he said about an hour and a half on hold is the average wait time for the NICS system. Luckily here in Arkansas, and if you guys are the same way, if you have your concealed carry permit, you don't have to go through the NICS background. Your permit
exactly
as a background check. So that's another perk of getting your concealed carry permit. And late last year at the 11th hour, we did become a constitutional carry state here in Arkansas. But I'm still going to keep my permit for no other reason. It helps going.
Yeah. If you want to go buy a gun, you can go buy one. You don't care if that computer's running or not, because you got your permit. You're already pre-approved while that permit's valid.
The same way in Carolina and in Ohio, Texas, and everywhere. Is that kind of the general?
I know that's how ours is. You don't.
It's definitely not it's definitely not everywhere, but
right. I know that, but
in a lot of states,
it works like that in Ohio. If you have go ahead, Clover. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying, I was going to say exactly what you were saying, that that's one of the reasons that, that swayed me. I mean, obviously there was the Luby's incident that happened here in Texas that weighed on me heavily to go get the license to carry, because that's the only way we could do it, under state regulation and whatnot. But, quickly realized that the perk of, that being your background check and not having to go through that, you go in, you fill out the paperwork, you pay for it, you walk out. And that's let's take a step back and let's just back up out of the situation we're in, and let's look at a situation where computer systems go down all the time, be it at the federal level or be it at the gun shop. Maybe they got a computer that's on their foot, maybe their phone lines are down, maybe anything can happen, and then there you sit. Anything can happen to where, let's say they call it in and there's some kind of weirdness with names or some kind of mix up with your information that, you get delayed or something like that. So you sidestep every bit of that with what is here in Texas, $30 every 4 years or something like that.
Yeah. Midnight Range says Pennsylvania, you still have to do a check even if you have a concealed carry permit. Would be nice not to, for sure. And I want to bring up Pennsylvania real quick. I want to believe his last name is Wolf, the governor there in Pennsylvania, late last week or middle of last week, basically infringed upon the Second Amendment rights of his citizens there in Pennsylvania and said that gun shops were to close down. And a friend of ours, a lot of ours know him, Joshua Prince, who is a civil rights attorney predominantly in the 2A community up in Pennsylvania. He and Adam Kraut sued the governor of Pennsylvania to do that. As of Saturday, I got an email from Joshua saying that it was denied. The appeal was denied by the state Supreme Court, which is interesting. But then I heard about an hour and a half ago that the governor has changed his position and that gun shops are a crucial part of self-defense, and they are going to reopen them there in Pennsylvania. We were going to try to get Josh on to the show tonight, but we've been talking back and forth the last couple of days. He's kind of going crazy right now. Maybe in a couple of days or next week, he's going to come on and talk about what that process of appealing to the state Supreme Court about a Second Amendment right that the governor has infringed upon and all that. But congratulations to Adam Kraut and Joshua Prince. Job well done, and congratulations to Pennsylvania. You can now have your guns back, and gun shops will be open. So I don't know when that takes effect, but I'm pretty sure it's right away. So that's really good stuff. What I wanted to talk about real quick was my gun shop. And I'm kind of like Clover, and we have not been mandatory shut down yet. My county is getting close. We have 25,000 people in our county, and we have 30 cases in the county, which is more than the 1 per 1,000 people, which is kind of scary. So it's questionable what we're going to be doing. But like I said, I went to the gun shop today, and this is open for everybody here on the panel. But I went to the gun shop and the doors were locked, but it says open, and there's a sign that says limiting number of people in the gun shop at one time. If the door is locked, please wait your turn. So I waited, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, and some guy came out. As a guy came out, I went back in and had my conversation, all that. But have you guys seen anything like that where they're limiting the number of people, not just in gun shops, but in shops general, that are staying open, but maybe locking the doors? Have you guys seen that? Go ahead, Sarge. You're shaking your head. Yes.
Like I say, we went over and did some shopping Sunday in 2 places that we went to. We went to Sportsman's Warehouse, and when I walked in, there wasn't a line, but I called my wife. I said, come in here so I could buy 2 more boxes of ammo. She's like, there's a line now. And they I guess had been monitoring people. So they were stopping them, and 1 come out, 1 could go in, 2 come out, 2 could go in. And then we went to a Trader Joe's, and they had it capped off. It still wasn't bad because there's not so much traffic on the roads right now. I don't know how it is where you are. I've noticed a big decline in people that are out and about, but I think the limits are good because they're keeping things clean and trying to get ahead of this thing.
Yeah. Anybody else on the panel noticing, specifically with gun shops, but with other stores, maybe locally, that they're limiting the number of people in at one time?
I haven't seen that anywhere, but in fairness, I'm kind of a hermit. So,
well,
I've been out and about. I've been out and about, and I mean, with the gun shops, no. I mean, there's no limiting. I would venture to guess the ones that I've seen. I mean, there's probably not many more than 10 in there at any given time. We're in a different part of the country than a lot of you folks out there. And so, while there are new people coming on board and stuff like that in our area, I don't think there's as many, right? I think a lot of people around here already had firearms, and it's sort of business as usual going to the gun shop. Now, some of the big box stores and things like that, I have not been in those. Some of the academies, Gander Mountains, things of that nature. So I could speak to that, but I do know that there are some smaller businesses. Convenience stores, grocery stores, the tobacco shops, places like that I've seen that there would be, a short line. It's not a long line, but you see 2 or 3 people standing outside, and there was a sign, be a sign on the door, limiting to 10 people at a time. And as soon as somebody leaves, the other person can come in. And, but yeah, echo what everybody on the panel said so far. I mean, when you're going into town and stuff like that, there's just not that many people in town. So most of the people that have panic bought are good at this point, I think, in our area. So a lot of the issues with the grocery stores and stuff like that, you're starting to see things come back around and be back on the shelf because everybody kind of ran in and bought their 2-week supply all at once. You know what I mean? And so the late bloomers is the only ones that you're seeing in there now, and the people that just need to go pick up those day-to-day items.
Now,
Around
Gary
here,
out there says that his. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Around here, yes, they are limiting access to gun shops. There was one local chain called Fin Feather Fur that was only allowing 10 people in their store at any one time, and they had a line heading out the door. Now my local shop is only going to be allowing 3 in at one time. It's just, we have a shelter-in-place order, stay-at-home order is what they're calling it. And however, they did exempt firearms dealers from that, so that's awesome. But they want them to practice as much social distancing as they can, so only 3 people in at a time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was talking to him about the sign, and I asked him, I said, well, is it because you're trying to minimalize the amount of people in there, or what? He goes, well, obviously we're trying to keep a minimum amount of people. Because they've been so busy. Like the last 2 weeks have been the best 2 weeks they've had in years. But he also said that he's doing it as a customer thing because he only has so many people on staff. And if you get flooded with 20, 30 people in a small town gun shop and you've only got 3 or 4 people behind the counter, then you're not able to give the customer the attention. And especially with the people that are coming in, most of them are not people that are knowledgeable about firearms. They come in, they're asking a bunch of questions. They want to see a bunch of stuff. And he's trying not to get it to where they're sitting around waiting that much because they just don't have the manpower to answer the questions. So I think that the thought process of that is really cool. Now, Gary up there said that he got a Facebook post from his gun shop saying they just got a truckload of ammo. When I was there today, there were no pistol calibers at all of any kind. Maybe some 40 Smith, but like 3 boxes, like literally 3 boxes of 40 Smith. No 22 LR, no 223, no 556, no 7.62 by 39. The only thing that was not shotgun, and most of the shotgun were 20 gauge. I didn't see hardly any 12 gauge. But the only thing that really wasn't shotgun were like 7.62 by 51 or by 54R, which are obviously not the most common 7.62 calibers. So it's really, really strange that they are out. And I asked him, I said, is there any way of knowing? And he said it could be 4 to 6 months before they get some ammo back in. So it's crazy out there. Obviously everyone around here is going through ammo shortages. I know Jeff was bringing up, has anyone seen any big box brands honoring concealed since the 44th 73 is taking so long? We'll get to that question here in a second, but has anybody in the panel here seen like a complete onslaught of ammo coming in, or is everyone in the same boat where there's nothing out there?
I know my buddy at his shop, he can't get any of the common calibers right now. He he's got the stuff set in his favorites, and he's been monitoring his computer. And as soon as they show something, it's kind of like a little lottery. You got to get it quick to order it for the shop. But
Jeff,
yep, that's exactly what I'm hearing from my local guy too.
Yeah, so Alan, you guys met Alan at SHOT Show that runs Quarter Horse Arms. He was there with Gear Report. He didn't realize he was a little bit behind the curve because he happens to be a high school teacher who has, and he's one of the tech experts. So when all the kids got sent home and they had to do online instruction, that's like his thing. He had to set that up for his school. So, I asked him, hey, a friend of mine's looking for some ammo. Do you have anything? Oh, yeah, I'll go find some. One of my distributors bound to have it. I was like, dude, you hadn't been paying attention, have you? And he got back to me the next day and said he spent hours, couldn't find anything, like nothing, period. And that was
I know my local shop, they're gonna wrap up. They're already in the process of ramping up for ammo production again. So they did that back in 2013, and they're gonna start that up again because the reloading sector doesn't look too bad so far.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I don't reload. So for you guys out there to reload, are the projectiles, the powder, are all of those reloading supplies, are they scarce as well?
They could be at the retail level. I can't speak to the retail level, but a lot of retail places don't carry a lot of that crap anyway. Reloading, it hit a boom in 2013, and honestly, a bunch of people bought up a bunch of stuff and never used it. I've seen the market flooded with projectiles and presses and powders and other things come about 2015, 2016, something like that. And people never even set up presses to do it. They just freaked out and bought all the stuff. I don't know a lot of the new. I mean, some estimates are 80% of the sales right now are new firearm owners, and I just don't foresee new firearm owners jumping into the reloading game and getting crazy like happened in 2013. I don't see that happening. Production seems to be pretty steady. Like I said, the supply side, as far as what's available with the distributors and stuff like that, I'm not seeing it, at least not yet.
Yep. Jeff, you've got some stuff that you just showed up. Is that you just get that in, or you've already had that?
That's exactly what Clover was talking about, where I had bought a whole lot of reloading supplies before, because we didn't always do gun reviews at Gear Report. We were outdoor gear and then added guns about 5 years ago. And when I realized that even if a company sent guns, the ammo cost to do a good, thorough review was significant, I said, well, crap, I got to learn how to reload. So this is my reloading bench back here, and it's pretty stocked up. That I got it stocked out to everything I needed to last me a few months of doing reviews, and then I scored some ammo sponsors and didn't need to use it. So it's this has been my kind of prepping without intending to prep. Is I've got a couple months supply here waiting to be put together.
Yeah, I want to make a comment on here to Chico. Chico, don't ever, ever, ever use the word that Clover is correct. We don't use those words around here. He's already got a big enough head. He doesn't need to hear it because
he says absolutely correct.
Yeah,
Get it right.
And that's even worse. We can't do that around here. Rich White out there, we're getting ready to jump into the actual topic here in a minute. But Rich White out there says our governor in West Virginia declared gunshots and ammunition vendors as essential businesses in a human malware executive order. And that's basically what happened today in Pennsylvania is the Governor Wolf retracted, and he basically said that gun shops are essential businesses, so they are back open. So the TPC out there says just ordered 1,000 rounds of 40 brass, powder, and federal primers. All were readily available in most big sites, but supplies were dwindling. And I agree with what Clover was saying, that the majority of the new gun owners, which we're here to talk about, are probably not going to jump into the reloading game. And if they are, awesome. That means they're probably here to stay. and so I don't remember which one of you guys mentioned it, but the first question I want to ask the panel, open question to anybody, is let's take a look 6 months from now. How many of these quote unquote new gun owners do you think are still going to be in the community or own that gun 6 months from now?
I would say 50 to 60% would be my guess.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say own the gun. I was thinking the same 50, 60%. Actually, part of the community, 7%.
7. That's a pretty exact number.
I think the first time gun owners, I think there's going to be more that keep their guns, but I think they're buying several. And I think after they kind of figure this thing out, they may sell off a couple, realize they bought too many, but I think we might be able to keep a little bit more than that. I hope, because hopefully they're smart enough to know that this could easily happen again, and they might want to go to and already have their stuff.
That's right. Budget, what do you think? How many people, what percent do you think are going to still be part of the community here in the next 6 months? Budget might be working. Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's actually going to be a higher percentage. I think it's going to be a pretty good number of people are going to maintain their firearms, going to keep them. I would like to think we could keep, 25 to 30%. That'd be a dramatic improvement because, like I said, we've been sitting here and all of us here that have shows for the last forever has been talking about how can we get more people into our community. And we've done a lot of we've tried a lot of things. We talk about having good conversations and getting them out to the range. And all of a sudden, something that we had nothing to do with brings them here. And so I want to start talking about what our responsibilities are to those gun owners. Do we have the responsibility to take care of them? Should we help them? What should we do? So I'm going to start with Sarge and say, if you've got a new gun owner that is literally a newbie, like never held a gun before and all of a sudden went and bought a gun, what are some of the things that you suggest that we should do to help them along the way?
I mean, I would suggest from their standpoint, find someone they know and trust and just because someone has the guns doesn't mean that someone that they're going to trust to help them, but don't be afraid to ask for assistance. Don't be afraid to ask for some advice. Believe it or not, most gun shops, if you go in and truly ask some, don't act like you know more than you do. But if you come in and say, hey, I don't know anything about these, can you help me out? Most of them will go out of their way to help you. It's when people act like they know something, people can tell they're faking, and then they kind of get a little more standoffish. But just ask. This gun community, they want you here. We want to bring you in. I will help anyone that needs help. I do not care. It was not an issue. If I'm off, I will help. But I think if you just ask questions and be honest, you will get a lot of help, more than you ever dreamed you could get. So that would be my suggestion from a new gun owner side.
Jeff, what about you? If there's something that you could say or do to help a new gunner, what would that one thing be that if you give them a piece of advice?
Yeah, why I'm struggling to answer this is people don't know what they don't know. That ignorance is what causes more problems than anything. So, if I could say anything, it would be along the lines of be open-minded, because that's how you're going to be exposed to the things and understand what you don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation right now with so many shooting ranges closed, and even ones that are open, people aren't going to want to get up close and personal and work on the finer points of mechanics of safety. It's all from a distance. So I would say, seek out at least that basic level of training and keep an open mind as you go through it.
Staying out there says, make sure
it's not loaded.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Clover, bring you in and say, if you could give a piece of advice to a new gun owner, what would that one piece of advice be?
There's a lot of good advice that can be given. So It's one of the things where I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong answer. There may be a certain hierarchy or order. But along this lines, one thing that I think we have to be careful about, we've got places like Everytown and Moms Demand Action and some of these, anti-firearm groups that are they're freaking out, first of all, because so many new people are getting they're getting their first firearm and all this, and it's freaking them just completely out. And so they're putting out information about storage. About keeping that firearm out of the hands of people, younger kids and maybe older people that have mental issues or whatever the case may be, right? Being responsible with your firearm. And so what I'm seeing on my side is I'm seeing some people attack that, and I don't think that looks good from our position. Because that's sound, reasonable advice that people need to, and everybody's got to make a decision on firearm storage and all of that according to their particular situation. Everybody's situation is going to be different, but bottom line is, safe storage is definitely a concern.
Yeah. And I think that is something that the average new gun owner has no idea. Once again, they are going to go buy a gun and probably put it into a nightstand or whatever, and they just don't know. Budget, are you around? Are you working? You want to answer this one, or can you even hear me? Okay.
I just stepped back into my office. What's the question?
The question is with new gun owners out there, if you had one piece of advice that you would give a new gun owner, what would that be?
Learn and practice the rules of gun safety. Number one, first and foremost. Matter of fact, I believe in that so much. Friday, I'm filming a video about that for new gun owners.
That's awesome. Yeah, and someone out there was talking earlier, and I can't find it, and I probably should have clicked on it earlier. But we're talking about new gun owners and what our responsibilities are, but their responsibilities are as well. And I think that their responsibility is I don't remember who it said, but don't go into this thinking because you've watched movies and you've seen videos of how to handle a gun that how to handle a gun. Be welcome to people helping you out. Don't have an attitude. Now, I'm not saying that there are going to be some people that are going to shame and all that. That's between you and them. But be open to hearing suggestions. Be open to learning more things. If I had one thing that I would say, it's going to be an all-encompassing thing, is just educate yourself on firearms, whether it's, gun storage or safety or whatever. Educate yourself as much as you can on firearms, because once again, the last thing we need is someone to come into the community, have a mistake at the house because of gun safety not being good, and someone who's been part of our community for a week is now kind of the bad side of our community, and something happens. So educate yourself, obviously be safe. Clover, you want to bring up what you were saying in the private chat? That's an interesting one.
Well, I mean, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy. He was kind of feeling me out. I mean, he knows I kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on and stuff like that. He was kind of feeling me out about what's going on and, the shortage on ammo. And he was asking me about body armor. I'm like, well, I'm not the foremost expert, but what do you have in mind? And he's like, well, I'm really thinking that I really need body armor with everything that's going on. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I've got some 1-inch plate laying around, and I'm thinking about cutting me some 1-inch plate, and that ought to stop a 30 caliber round.
You should have said yes. That's exactly what you need to do.
And I said, he's like, well, like in the movies, and I'm like, oh my God. And so he gets into how, car doors stop, rounds in movies and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's the movies. It's like, that's movies. It's like, and he was talking about 1-inch mild steel stopping like a 30 caliber round. And I'm like, Fizzle, what 30 caliber round are you talking about? Because I venture at a close range, a 300 Win Mag is going to burn through a 1-inch piece of mild steel. Quite possibly. I said, but here's what you don't realize. And he was blown away by this. I'm like, even if you had the best body armor that they made, I said, you get hit in that body armor, let alone in a leg or an arm or a head.
Hurt.
You get hit in that body armor, you're pretty much out of the fight. You're done.
Yeah, that armor is
Definitely not going to be happy.
And
Yeah.
he seemed to be of the mind, like, and that's what I mentioned in the side chat, of kind of like the movies where, if he gets body armor, he's going to be able to run and gun and take multiple hits while he's doing it. And I'm like, it don't work that way, bro.
And he's planning on them all being right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like not one's going to be here or anywhere else. They're all going to go right there.
Yeah.
Good luck.
If you've never been hit while having armor on, it will knock your breath out of you for sure. Probably knock you on your ass. It's going to bruise like a mother, and it's going to hurt for a while. It's going to save your life, but just like Lance out there, this ain't John Wick. Okay, this isn't something that you're going to continue that fight. Chances are. So understand that body armor is there for one purpose. It is to save a life, not to continue the fight. So it is what it is. There was something up here. Yeah, Buck says that a lot of the local gun stores are having free firearms class, basic firearms 101. And we were talking a little bit about this with Toby on Jeff's chat last night. And obviously Toby is a firearms instructor, and he's thinking about doing some stuff online. And I've been receiving emails from a lot of different companies and instructional facilities that are going to start doing online live seminars, or at least posting a seminar online on their website talking about instruction for basic kindergarten handgun 101. Is that something that we should be promoting, or is that something that people are just trying to make money off of? Because I truly believe that if we're going to give a class out there, if we're going to sell them guns, then we need to have them educated as far as the 4 rules of firearm safety, how to hold it, and all that. So have you guys seen anyone doing some online instruction for new gun owners yet?
I haven't.
Nope. You haven't? Okay. Budget, Jeff,
No.
Clover, have you? I've been seeing emails coming through that they're going to start offering some stuff, and I thought it was a pretty good idea.
Sure.
Now,
Well,
Clover's
yeah,
But that's part of what struck me to do that video, is to put something out there, even if it's just, hey, here's the rules of firearm safety, here's how you load, here's how you safe, real basic stuff. Because there are going to be a lot of people out there with the stay-at-home orders. They're not going to be going anywhere for training. They're going to be looking to YouTube. So I figured I should probably put something out that gives that information. And everybody else with a camera probably should too. Because the more the merrier, man.
I like that idea.
I put a couple of videos out the last couple of days, and it's not for handgun handling or firearms handling, but I've been receiving over the last week a bunch of emails from viewers and comments and all that about different things. And so I tried to do a couple of videos. One of them was how to zero. So I did a video yesterday about a zero. Today I did a video about how do I mount my red dot. And I think a lot of these are that people are trying to reach out because they are buying their first AR. They are buying their first guns, and they are trying to find out what's the proper way of doing that. So, people out there that are emailing, don't just email me, email all of these guys. We've all got extensive backgrounds with firearms. A lot of people online, there are a lot of really knowledgeable people out there that are trying to do the right thing. But, Budget's trying to do a series coming out here later this week, and that's awesome. If you find some instructors out there, I know that like PDN and a lot of these people are now giving away a free months of their classes that usually cost money online, but they're giving some free classes away. And I think that's one of those things that, don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to sit there and say, look, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you, what should I do? Because there are people, we were all in that situation. We were all in that scenario before. There's always going to be someone that can help. There's always going to be someone that knows what they're doing. And if you're going to be part of the community, then that's great. Now, I will say this. Let's see here. I will say this is when we have this influx of new people, and we are going to try to take them and bring them not just being gun owners, but being community. And we've talked about this before. Some of them were anti-gun, some of them were indifferent. But at what point do we try to convert them to a 2A person? Should we just let them go for a while and see if it happens naturally, or what? I want to start with budget. When we have these new gun owners, do we start pressing the issue with 2A, or do we let them sit around and just be fun gun owners for a while?
Let them have fun first. You have to give them an incentive to want to keep on to the rights. If you try and hard sell it right off the bat, you're going to turn them off. They're going to think that you have to do all this if you own guns and whatnot. You want them to have fun. You want them to start to enjoy it first. Then gently ease them into, if you like this and want to keep doing this, you might want to think about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So Sarge is out there. I did a thing on the 36 yard zero yesterday, and he uses the 36 yard zero. I went to it about a year ago, and I really have enjoyed it. He's saying that I actually was using a 35.5 yard zero.
Yeah, I did my calculations.
To his calculations, and the 36 is much better, much more accurate than the 35.5 yard zero. So, yeah. And it's one of those things where I think there are going to be people asking about, do I need a red dot? Do I need, a scope?
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
When you talk about that 36 yard zero, which is the one that I like, I think that's most effective. And every point that you brought up is why I feel it's the best all around. Is it the only one? Depends on what you're doing. I just think all around, I think that one's the best. How many videos have you seen in how to zero a red dot on a pistol? And how hard is it to find information? It's extremely hard.
I think if you, what, honestly, I haven't done it in a while, but I think it'd be an interesting thing. Someone out there I don't want to do that because I want to take them away, but sometime do a YouTube search for red dot pistol, or just do red dot. And if you just do a red dot mounting or whatever, I'd be willing to bet, I don't know what, less than 10% is going to be on a handgun. I would say the less than 10%, probably less than 5%. That's a great point, because if people are going to be buying handguns, and maybe they're right now, this is a great, I'm glad you brought this up, because they bought a handgun the last week. Let's say now they live in an area where they're in quarantine and they can't get to a range, or shutting the ranges down. How are they going to learn to aim and all that? Well, maybe you can go on, Brownells or Sportsman's Guide or online somewhere, Optic Planet, and get you a nice little red dot for a pistol. And that would be something they need to learn how to zero, but that might be something that the new gun owner might enjoy. What do you guys think about that? Teaching someone quickly how to use a red dot, whether it's on a pistol or rifle, is that something that needs to happen quickly, or would you start them out on iron sights?
This brings up an interesting discussion about can't get to the range and some of that. Why not, if you're talking about new firearm owners, why not suggest to them some of the dry fire devices that are out there, like the Manus and the Cool Fire trainers and some of those things as well.
Or a cert if you have access to a cert, those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that dry fire, and I think that must be something that I'm sure Budget will. I might even do a dry fire video the next week or so, because I think that people don't understand what dry fire is. If they're new to guns, they probably don't know what it is. They don't know that there are certain guns that you can dry fire with and probably should not dry fire with. They probably don't know what snap caps are or anything like that. So maybe educating them not just about dry firing, but how to dry fire. Absolutely. The whole dry fire situation.
That was going to be number 2 in my handgun basics.
There you go. That's great.
Dry fire. So yeah.
Yeah, dry fire is huge, and you can do that if you don't have access to a range or your range has been closed down. Absolutely, you can definitely get some good practice in, and using you can even teach them, in certain videos, line of sight and all of that stuff, and and then teach them how to work on that and dry firing. So absolute dry fire is going to be huge. Someone out there's Optics Planet. Optics Planet they have some issues, but if you're talking about some place that's going to have a wide variety, right now, like Sportsman's Guide, I got an email from them, and I had ordered some stuff with them last week, and I got an email saying that obviously shipments are going to be delayed. A lot of the big box stores, and Optics Planet might be somewhere to go. And I was using an example. I'm not saying that you should go Optics Planet. I'm just saying that there are places out there that can get that kind of stuff to you. Excuse me. C4 out there says you can ask some folks about wet firing their guns in the house. You want to talk about that a little bit?
No, it was a joke about make sure the chamber's empty before you test the.
I like the wet fire idea. Slippery when wet, maybe. I don't know.
You may be wet after you do it.
Well, I guarantee you probably are. Chico says iron sights first. I agree.
Yes.
I'm all about, and I still have a couple ARs that I run nothing but iron sights on. And I love having iron sights. I keep an M&P Sport in my truck when I go to the range, and it's got no optic on there whatsoever. And I use it for, in case someone's there at the range that might be new that wants to shoot an AR for the first time, I'll introduce them to that one, and it's going to have iron sights on there. So now there's the argument out there that some people will say, get them to an optic as quickly as possible. Is anybody, Jeff, Budget, Clover, any of you guys, do you go down that line of get them on optic as quickly as possible?
Negative.
Okay.
Whatever they plan to do. I mean, if they want to stay irons, keep them irons. If they want to go to optics, show them optics. Their gun, they're shooting. If they want to do it, show them how to do it. So that way they can make their own decision.
I think it boils down to, I think Budget's onto something there in a way. I think it boils down to what they want and they're looking to get out of it. If they're looking for the absolute quickest, they don't really care about gaining skills and proficiency and a lot of other things, then yeah, I mean, just going straight to an optic may be okay. But I think that affords us an opportunity to educate and talk about how, well, if you're proficient with irons, you could pretty much pick up anything and everything if you needed to. What happens if the battery dies on that optic? What happens if this? You've made the decision at this point which is a very important and a life-changing decision that 80% of people are making, right? And you've made this decision. It's not a decision that I would think most people took lightly if they waited this long. And then now you're gonna half-ass as far as your proficiency and skill level and learning it and all of that. I mean, having the tool is great, but what good does that do when there's limitations to that equipment, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yep.
That's why the iron sights are a must, because that red dot, it's an electronic. It could easily fail. So I got to teach them how to use the irons too.
Yeah, and here's another thing also is if you're going to have a new gun owner have a red dot, an RMR, let's just say for a handgun, you're going to put an optic on a handgun. They're going to have to learn how to zero that dot. They're going to have to learn that just because you present doesn't mean that your presentation's good. And sometimes they're going to struggle finding that dot once they zero it. Where iron sights, they can go home and immediately learn how to get, sight acquisition. And I like what Clover and Sarge both said is, what if that battery goes dead? Now you're talking about someone who is new to firearms and has learned this specific way. And now for some reason they didn't turn off the dot overnight or whatever. And the next week they pick it up and that thing is dead. They have no idea. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in iron sights forever. But especially for new gunners.
For a lot of people, I think the LVPO is a game changer in that you can run it like a red dot, but with a reticle, so you don't have to worry about a battery. And you can, especially, I mean, look at Vortex 0 to 10 now. I mean, that's a huge range of potential uses you can use that optic for. So I don't disagree that for the typical defensive use, or hey, maybe you're a drug dealer and it's an offensive use, I don't know, but your typical defensive use, the iron sight is what you need to be proficient with because you may have to fall back on it. But I think a lot of new people, they go out there with irons, especially people who don't have perfect eyesight and maybe don't understand the mechanics of how that iron sight picture works. They're going to get frustrated. And there's something to be said about helping people to a point of having some success early enough that they're having fun, that they're going to want to keep going and keep getting deeper into it and keep learning and trying new things.
Absolutely. We got a text from Lance over on the old Ghost Tactical Hotline. He says, with the mass purchasing of guns and ammo across the country, how long before the other side takes a strong stand and makes a push to take our guns again? Well, there is a pretty nasty bill going through the House right now that, if it passes, I mean, it's gun control at its worst. And there's talk about no more guns. And I don't think that it probably might pass the House. I don't think it'll probably even get out of committee in the Senate side, but they haven't stopped, Lance. The answer to the question is they haven't stopped going after. They're continuing. They're even doubling down. There are a lot of governors right now that are loving the fact that they can close down gun shops and close down ranges if they want to. And so, yeah, there's going to be an ongoing thing. I think what's going to happen is the same thing with the gun owners 6 months from now when the elections come up is how many of these people in the next 6 months that are new gun owners can we convert at least enough to understand the Second Amendment and why it's important, whether or not they're two-way activists or they're part of the actual community, but how many of them can we maybe possibly convert to where guns in a two-way or at least a voting issue for them where it may not have ever been. And I think that's maybe an important thing to realize is assuming that the election goes on as planned in November, which who knows, but assuming that the election happens in November, we've got an opportunity, and that's what we're talking about. We have an opportunity to convert some of these people that are new gun owners to at least being allies in the voting booths. Because if we do that, that could give us a stronger chance to not only get the president reelected or the Senate to keep on there, but there might be a chance, since every single seat in the House, guys, every single, 432, whatever it is, every single seat in the House is up for grabs. We could turn the House back over to our side with maybe some of these new gun owners. What do you guys think of? Do the gun owners have a part? Could they play a role in politics in this coming election?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. I think one thing that we have to remember. I mean, we talked earlier. We kind of got off onto the optics thing. We switched gears and switched away from it there for a second. But when we were talking about the new firearm owners coming in, and how do we talk to them and attempt to move them toward a little better, let's say, Second Amendment stance and stuff like that. And I think we can do that without being hardlined and being too preachy. And what I mean by that is I think we can find a way to talk about maybe the firearm that they purchased or firearms that they purchased. And if they show interest in a particular one, and find ways to say, well, that, these states, whatever, restrict this, maybe there's somebody from, let's just pick a state and say Nebraska, right? And you say, you realize, in California, out there, they've prohibited, they can't even own that 15-round magazine or whatever it is, right? And just little subtle things like that, right? Not, shall not be infringed, and quoting the Second Amendment to them, and the Second Amendment about hunting and that type of preachiness, but just things that they're, as a new firearm owner, they're familiar with. They're familiar with the firearm that they purchased. There was a reason they purchased that. Hey, in New Jersey, you can't even own that in New Jersey, right? And just start making it aware to them that, there are other places that they would have been restricted had they lived in that state or whatever. And it starts to get them, I think, thinking a little more politically that way. Ultimately, I think this is a great thing. And I think it is because as people, I find myself in a bit of a quandary because we talk about, Jeff said it earlier, how people don't know what they don't know. And, at one time we were all ignorant, and I was ignorant a really, really long time ago, because I don't ever remember a time in my life not being around firearms or knowing about firearms. And so there's a disconnect and there's a gap between me and new people. Now, I've had training and understanding kind of how to manipulate the conversation and talk to people or stuff like that. But on a fundamental level of connecting with somebody, there's definitely a disconnect between me and a brand new firearm owner that's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, because I don't comprehend that. Why were you not into this from birth? Right. So having new people coming in, I think that it's a positive long term, because I think that even if we can only, let's say that 50 to 60% we talked about earlier, let's say that was wishful thinking, and let's say it's only 30 or 40% that stay in. Well, now you've got 30 or 40%. You've got this swell of new firearm owners that, what can they do? They can now talk to the people that are considering becoming a firearm owner, right? They're just on the other side of that fence that we always talk about. And so they're closer. They're going to be able to relate to things and communicate a little better. But I think ultimately it's our job to get those those political wheels turning.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, because, and I posed a question earlier, is how long do we wait? I mean, we don't have time to wait too much, but if we become overbearing, we might turn them away and all that, And
I don't think we do. I don't think we do wait. I think we just need to be tactful in the way we go about it, because you don't have to wait if you talk about right in the right here and now, a specific that applies to that person. They just bought this pistol. This pistol is not on the roster in New Jersey or California. This pistol has a 15-round magazine, which is multiple states you can't have. So those are things you can talk about now because it's relevant to that person, right? You're not being pushy and enforcing what they might perceive as irrelevant things down their throat. You're talking about things that they actually exist, as tangible, and is in their hands.
Jeff, are you going to say something? I'm laughing at Sarge.
Yeah, and I'll apologize if my internet connection's seeming a little flaky, so bear with me. But
the pictures, but
I think something different. Yeah, the situation a little different than what we've seen before, in that this influx of new gun owners are typically not recreationally motivated. They are specifically looking to defend themselves. So I think there's a different mindset for them coming in, and as a pro-gun community, we should be able to leverage that easier than an influx of recreational. I mean, let's say one of these shooting leagues picks up nationally, and you get a lot of people who are looking at it as a sport. Well, they may not relate to the personal defense, self-defense, take down a tyrannical government arguments. It's a sport to them. It's like buying a football. What rights do you have to that? It may be hard to convince them, but today's even if we call them panic buyers, people who have realized, oh my God, I need something to defend myself if shit goes sideways. They're coming in with a different mindset that is closer to us, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I love what you're talking about, is people coming into this or buying their first firearm for a specific reason, and that is self-defense, home defense, whatever. But without even being political, I think there's a better chance for us to keep them in the community if we maybe not talk politics right off the bat, but if you're at the range with them and say, hey, you got a first gun, you got it for self-defense and all of that. Maybe introduce to them, hey, did you happen to know that there's IDPA and USPSA out there, or steel challenge matches? There is competition out there that can not only have fun with, but will actually make you a better shot for that self-defense. So you start introducing them, just very quickly and very, to different ways and different reasons and different aspects of our community and our industry, that maybe once we kind of get them in, hey, we've got them with a gun. Now, if we can get them into doing competition or training or something, now there's a better chance that 10%, maybe it is 30% now, that retain those firearms forever, because we've got them doing something besides just putting it in a drawer somewhere. And then once we got them there, then maybe it's incremental steps to the politics. I don't know. There's not a right answer. I tend to agree with Clover in a certain way, that I think we might want to at least expose them to the political side of things, not ram it down their throats and all of that, but expose them to the political side. But maybe after we've maybe introduced the shooting sports or training or something like that. Absolutely. Me out there saying, I think YouTube's going to be a huge tool for new gun owners, will utilize now more than ever. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have, it's interesting, because I've been getting more emails and comments from new gun owners, but I've been getting a lot of emails in the last week or so, week to 10 days. They're basically saying, hey, I'm a new gun owner. I found your channel. I like your stuff. Can you answer a question for me? And some of them I just answer because it's real easy. But then there's some of them that were going to be very difficult without writing a novel in an email, that maybe a video is the best way to do it. So I love the fact that Sarge and Budget, and there's a lot of people out there doing videos out there that maybe, I don't want to say they're earmarked towards new gun owners, because they're going to be evergreen, because there's going to be new gun owners every day in this country, regardless if there's a pandemic going on or not. But especially right now, since there is this influx of new gun owners that are going to help them. So I love it.
Well, search traffic is up. That's, I pay attention to a lot of numbers and look at a lot of things, and it's definitely up right now. So now would be a good time to get out, like you were talking about, some of the basic firearms, just the basics for new firearm owners, and talking about that sort of stuff. Now would definitely be the time.
I want to pose this question. This is going to be for everyone. It's kind of a little fun with it, because we're going to get out of here in about 5 or 10 minutes. But after Sandy Hook in 2012, 2013 is when we kind of saw the rise of the gun channel on YouTube. Now that there are seemingly a lot more gun owners that possibly could be going to YouTube for whatever reason, either they're interested or they just have nothing else to do because they're being quarantined, it's going to be interesting. Will there be a lot more gun channels in the next few months pop up out of nowhere, kind of like in 2013? Or do you think that they're not going to do, because they do have time on their hands? There are a lot of people that are sitting around the house doing nothing. So do you think there's going to be more gun channels popping up? And that's for anyone.
Yes. I think there'll be more of every kind of channels popping up.
That's true. Go ahead, Sarge.
I was going to say, I think maybe, because this has definitely turned the tide of making gun ownership not quite as scary. They're probably still a little bit scared of them, because they're not familiar, but they actually went out and purchased some, and some of them purchased more than one. And this may work in our favor. It may not be quite as taboo. And in fact, my buddy, of course, I talk about him, he had a TV show and everything like that, that the producer he talks on a regular basis said that gun stuff is coming back because of the way things change. It's not as scary anymore. Now it's kind of back into it. It may shift. It may become more popular. So we may have waited out this storm.
I would love to see a Top Shot show to come back. I love Top. Matter of fact, I was at home last night watching season 4 of Top Shot, because I know Chris and I know Gabby. So it was kind of interesting as I watched that originally. I was like, boom, now I've met and know Chris and Gabby. It's kind of interesting to see that work. But I would love to see a Top Shot type show come back. That's one of my favorite shows. I love it. So yeah, Buck out there says the problem is getting the new owners to the right YouTube channel. Some YouTubers are not the best ones to learn from. I don't know why you continuously had to put me down, Buck. I do my best. I can't help it. I do my best. No, I think a lot of it comes down to everyone has a different personality. You know, a lot of people talk about nut and fancy in the 1.5 hour long gun review. Some people like that shit. I personally like Such. And Such is more like 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, but 20 minutes is probably his average gun review. Such is one of the very few actually gun review guys that I will go and watch because he is very detailed. But when I'm looking for a gun review, I'm looking for specific details that I either to justify or confirm what I've already been thinking about a gun purchase. But I think that if we can get people out there like, Clover and Budget and Sarge and myself and Toby and everyone out there that's going to try to do something for new gun owners, I think if we go about it and you try to give them honest information and all of that, then I don't think you can go wrong with who you send it to, because like I said, they're going to have to do that on themselves. We did that for years. We found channels that fit our personalities. We found channels that we trust. Can we send them in a direction that maybe you want to start looking at these guys or whatever? Sure. But they're going to find their own way. They're going to find their own people that they trust and the personalities they like. Let's see here.
I think what's going to be interesting, you talk about potential new channels coming in with the social distancing and ranges shut down and stuff like that too. It's like, where are they going to go, to shoot, or what type of content are they going to do? Right. Yeah. So what kind of, and I guess I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it's going to be interesting to see if new channels start coming along. It's going to be interesting to see how they tailor and fashion their content. That could be really interesting.
Absolutely. No doubt. Pancake Boy out there is actually being profound, and I think it's Mia talking. I don't think that he has the capability of having such a nice, eloquent take on something, but he says that he thinks some people's anxiety of societal breakdown will change minds on why people own firearms. They get worried about protesting their own family, and a light bulb goes off in their head. Protecting. Well, maybe it is Pancake Boy, because I think he meant to say protecting their own family. So maybe it isn't Mia. But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to it. I think that ultimately this whole show could be put it down to this. If you aren't comfortable with helping someone learn the basics to be more safe, to teach them, Clover says the 3 rules of gun safety. A lot of people say the 4, whatever. I will say this. The main thing that we can do in the gun community is be welcoming. Open arms, be helpful, answer questions that they ask. Don't push information down their throat. We don't want to overload them and sit there. You know what? The hell with it. I'm done with it. Be there if needed. Be good. Basically, I mean, it sounds great, but be great ambassadors of who we are, because that's how we're going to keep them. Is they're here for a reason. Now let's see if we can keep them. The best way to do that is just being a good ambassador and being welcoming. I think that that's the biggest thing that we can do.
Can I address that comment that was just on the screen?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Everything I've seen, people have a complete misconception of what law enforcement does. This is probably addressed to some of the videos and things that I've seen. It says where they have limited the numbers of arrests. I haven't seen a single article that says that they will not respond, but people think that actual on-site arrest is, most time people think that's the end of it. Okay, well, you got arrested. This is the end of it. That's just the beginning, and it still has to come to court. That's just pretrial confinement. It all depends on the situation. Now, some of them have lowered the offenses that they will arrest for, probably a little bit too low, but I haven't seen a single article that says they won't respond. People have confused the reducing arrest with will not respond. That's not the same thing at all. So I just want to get that out there. Sorry.
No, I agree. One of my best friends is the sheriff here, and shoot a lot with him and all of that. Midnight's out there. He says,
has anyone ever been to a jail or been in jail?
I've not been in jail. I have been to many jails.
Have you ever been like,
yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, what would happen if you introduced one coronavirus patient into the middle of that? You'd
The whole
probably
place is gonna
all
have
have it in no time.
Exactly.
Yeah, every single one of us would have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
No
they're
matter how
trying
much
to reduce.
medical isolation we would do, no matter how much,
The recirculation of the
what
air.
precautions we took, no matter how many temperatures we took, how many masks we wear, how many times a day we're cleaning the place, we'd all have it.
They're trying not to kill everybody in the jail. That's why they're reducing some of the number of people that they take to jail. So.
Now, let me ask you this, Sarge. With obviously traffic, not just literal traffic with cars, but people traffic in your town and all of that, have you seen has crime kind of declined in the last couple of weeks, or is
I'm
this
going to say that
this is a perfect time to get crime, whatever?
I'm going to say that it has. I haven't actually pulled numbers or stats, but I can tell you there's a dramatic difference in the number of people on the roads, and not many crimes people are committing on foot. They usually have to drive somewhere. They do what they do, and then they drive away. Most of it's all facilitated by a vehicle in one way, shape, or form. And I can tell you that I do a little bit different job now, and we haven't had as many routine customers that we normally would have or find, because everyone's staying home, and I mean everyone, good, bad, or indifferent, they're staying home.
Decline. We're having a decline in just about every category of crime except domestics. Those are going up.
Ours have gone up a little, not quite as much as I thought, and that's good. And
yeah,
I feared the worst.
But they
I
are
thought
still
they
on the
would
rise.
I thought they would go up more. They have gone up some, but like everything else, because people aren't out doing things. People aren't out doing good things. They're not out doing bad things. They're staying home.
It's interesting, and maybe it's just because there is not much traffic, but I have noticed, even in our small town, between the city police and the sheriff's department, the county mounties, I have noticed more law enforcement around. And then maybe it's just because they're not anymore that are there. They're not doing anything different. It's just there's so fewer cars out there. You're noticing them more. I don't know, but have you guys ramped up people being out patrolling, Sarge, or anything? I mean, is it the same schedule?
Same schedule. And see, sure. We have an issue. And when you work at a smaller department, everyone is on standby, because what if one shift gets it? Now what? Patrol is essential. A lot of other things are in support roles, but you have to go answer the calls for service. You can wait a week or two to follow up on some crimes and follow up on things, but you have to go answer them. So no one is really off right now. Everyone, even guys that haven't worn a uniform, that have done a different job for 10 years, may be dusting off their uniform and going and answering calls if a shift gets sick and gets quarantined. So we've made a little bit of precautions, but we have not ramped up the amount of cars that are out there and the amount of people right now, because we've got to keep them in reserve.
Yeah, well, and that's something that most of us don't think about. I know that, like I said, maybe it's just because there's not that many cars out on the road, so I am noticing the law enforcement vehicles a lot more than I normally would, and I think a lot of them are hanging out, especially at night. They're hanging out because we're not under quarantine. We can be out in town and all that. They don't recommend it, obviously, but they haven't come down and shut us down. But I noticed it, like by the Sonic and by the Domino's big park. There's several places around town that the youth gather at night typically. And they're on spring break right now, but they're off for school till April 14th. So it's basically a spring vacation that the kids are going to get out. So I have noticed at night a lot of the law enforcement hanging around those areas, not because they want to make those kids not have fun. It's the fact that there could be 50 or 60 of those kids. And once again, you're talking about spreading this thing unnecessarily. So I think it's interesting. It's been a great conversation, and I know that we could do a lot more. We're going to be talking about this for a long time, but I think that a lot of it is now Toby just shows up, fantastic. But a lot of it comes down to, I think, with new gun owners, let's just be welcoming, be patient with them. don't try to force your opinion on there. If they bought a gun that you think is terrible, at least they bought a gun, and let's try to help them understand the best way to utilize that firearm to protect their families, and then maybe convert them into staying here a little bit longer. But want to thank everybody for coming on. I'm going to go through the room and let you kind of plug your stuff. Jeff, you want to plug any live streams or what Gear Report's got going on right now?
Yeah, we're actually going to be live Friday at 8 o'clock, I believe, is when we're doing This Week at Gear Report. So that'll be on our YouTube channel. The Friday chat is talking about recently published reviews and things that are coming up in the queue, so you can hear about stuff that's fresh on our mind in either direction and interact with us on that. And I posted, well, it's been a while. Maybe I don't want to spam the chat with Toby's link, but go check out that free training that he's doing at Mining Ridge Armory for new gun owners. That online training, I think, is kind of cutting edge, and he's hard to look at, but he's a pretty good trainer. So
put that link out there to his website right now.
Yep,
Absolutely.
that around.
Absolutely. And I know that you've got a lot of stuff coming down, and like I said, I know that right now it's different because people are online a lot more. They are at home. They are doing a lot of things to where maybe they're looking to get into different things. So Gear Report obviously does firearms, like Jeff was saying, but it is not just firearms. It's outdoor, basically anything outdoor related. And I put the link out there in the chat. Go check out Gear Report. I write for them. Clover writes for them. Budget writes for them. Hell, I don't know. Sarge, you might not have time, but Sarge, he can probably write for them. But they're a great place for anything that is outdoor related. So
I think Sarge is typing something for me right now.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He's like, huh? Budget, are you around right now?
Yes, I am. Thanks for the invite,
right.
Ghost. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is a really good topic, and I think an important topic, too. So good on you for doing it. Anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. You can find me here on YouTube at Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, www.budgetgunsandgear.com, which I just chucked out into the chat. I got 4 stickers left on my giveaway, guys. So head on over there and somebody buy the damn things before Friday so I can draw the winner on Friday. Got a couple prize packages, including a bipod donated by Clover and some iPro and EarPro donated by Ghost. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of, folks.
Cool.
Go check them out. Budgetgunsandgear.com. Obviously, you can find all of his social media there, and be on the lookout. If you're listening to this or watching this, then later replay or a podcast, and you are new to the community, you are a new gun owner, Budget is going to be starting up a new series for different things for new gun owners. So go check that out as well. And thanks for doing that. Sorry, what you got going on?
I scored some ammo today. So
nice.
I've got I'll have some target ammo so I can actually go out and shoot some videos this weekend. Yeah, I was a little bit low last weekend, and then it rained like crazy today, and it rained a little bit yesterday. But so I'm going to go back out to the range this weekend, and one of the things I've got is an Arredondo mag extension. Thankfully, this was donated by G23, so I want to give him a shout out. And I'm going to be a little slow. I updated to Adobe Premiere Pro, so I got to figure out the new system. So I just erased my old editing software. I'm forcing myself to use it. And I do have a new gun that I may test this weekend, and I'm going to show it to you. I think it'll be okay. I don't think we're going to get a strike, but I may show this one. And it's for deep concealed. So look for a review of this, and I appreciate the invite. And I'll do a live show this week at the end of the week, probably Thursday night or Saturday night. I'm going to get back into live streams. So
are you guys going to be doing any Trigger Plus P anytime soon?
If I could get the other guys on board, yes. Yeah. So feel free to shame them, to shame
I certainly
snob
will. I certainly will.
and shame obnoxious. I got to line up some more guests, and yes, we are going to get this thing rolling. The wind got knocked out of everybody's sails when NRAM got canceled, and it's just kind of like, but we got to get back at it. So thank you for the invite, and I really appreciate it. And now that he's gone, I guess I'll just show my gun again. Since
unfortunately our host has left the building, so that's kind of crappy. But who we got left? Jeff. We got Jeff left. Go.
Wow, I got kicked out of my own thing. That was weird. The hell was that? You guys can hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
That was very, very strange. I'm sitting there going, what in the world? Clove, go ahead, man. Go ahead and plug away.
Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
It's your turn.
Clovertech.com. Check it out. All my stuff's on there. And I've been breaking down the after hours, that epic after hours chat the other night. And so for those that are aware, we reviewed about 30 different channels, I guess, some pretty awesome content. And I don't want you to have to watch 4 hours to find out about all those cool channels. So I'm breaking those down by different channels, and I've been releasing 3 a night, and I'm releasing them sometime after midnight my time. I'll release those because I don't want to flood the notifications and all of that during the day, but I do need to get those out, as quick as possible. I don't want to, wait months or something like that, of course, because we're talking about promoting some really cool smaller channels. So be looking for that when you get up in the morning or the next day or something. Scroll back through the notifications or just hit up the YouTube channel or whatever and check out some of those reviews that we did. More so just to become aware of some of the cool smaller channels that are out there doing good work.
Absolutely. And thanks for coming on. Yeah, if you're out there, we talked about this earlier, there might be some new channels popping up for people that are getting into firearms and maybe turning the camera on. So be on the lookout. And if you guys see any cool channels that are new or whatever, or small, just kind of starting out, put them in the comments, and I'd love to check them out and maybe share some of their stuff and all of that stuff. So once again, we can get as many people in this community, the better. So whether they're new to firearms or just new to YouTube, we need a lot more content out there to kind of start flooding the airwaves, the interwebs with pro gun content. So thanks for everyone that's watching live. If you're watching a replay or listening to it in podcast, make sure if you have any questions or comments, use that comment section below. We appreciate you guys. Everyone that was out there in the live stream, awesome. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all your questions. I apologize. Email them to me. I'll get them answered, and we maybe even do a video. I'm going to start doing videos if I can that says, hey, a lot of these questions were asked during live streams I didn't get to, so answer them all in one kind of a video. But make sure you email them to me, and I'll make sure we get them answered. But guys, go check out the last maybe half hour of Hit or Miss over at Night Strike's channel. Just saying, you can. No, go check him out. And then I don't know if Sandy's going to have his, but I'm assuming at 9 Central that Sandhill Shooter will have his Get Off My Lawn podcast. That is a great one. I think Crump usually has one. The Fireside Chats, I think he usually has one at 9 Central, sometimes on Tuesday. So if he's out there, go check out Crump. He put some good stuff out there as well. But thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to everyone that's been watching the videos. I hope that we're trying to pass on some information that might be helpful. Go check out all these guys. Go check out gearreport.com. That's gear-report.com. Go check out clovertac.com, budgetgunsandgear.com, c4defense.net, or all these guys' YouTubes, all of their Instagrams or Facebook, everything. These guys are putting out some great things, and we appreciate you very much, and we'll see you soon. Semper Fi. Don't know why it's